Fair warning, I'm the only adult in the house with 2 kiddos and the doggy, so that tends to mean a few interruptions, but they're pretty good about it. So for the month of August, if you haven't heard this already, the mantra is let the hip vibes flow. An intended pun there. The flow meaning water and fluidity and creativity through this practice. Hip meaning our actual hips, and hip as in easygoing. So let all of those things come together. Today, a little bit more focus on hamstrings through the work in pyramid pose. Alrighty? Take a comfortable seat. You can sit cross-legged, back on the heels, however you wish, but as you sit up nice and tall through the spine, take a moment to close your eyes. Just going to double check that my recording is going. It is. Try to let the breath focus down low, the pelvis, low belly. And then nod the chin down to the chest and do very slow head rolls. You can do just half moon shapes if that's best for you. I'm going to go into a full head roll today. You're doing those full head rolls nice and slow, 2 or 3 in each direction. And then keep the chin down to the chest. Still trying to gain length from tailbone up. Take both hands behind the head and give the little push of the head into the hands. Continuing to activate the stretch down the spine and strengthen the core. Release the hands. Lift the head, open the eyes if not already, and take a twist in one direction. And twist in the other direction. Back to your center. Okay, stretch the legs straight out in front of you. We're going to spend a little more time down low on the mat here before we get into bigger body movement today. I'm going to use the strap, so if you have one, place it along the bottom of your feet. If you're not using an extra strap, bend the knees until you can hold on to your feet. Either way. And then do try to sit up nice and tall through the spine, kind of like you're rowing. Bend the elbows, but unlike when you're rowing, tilt the torso forward and down until you find a stretch in the back of the legs, along the calf into the hamstrings. So throughout this month and each practice, finding a nice 360 view of the hips, hamstrings being the back side of the work. Come on up. Take one foot in like tree pose. And then fold over just the extended leg. Do the same thing. Hold on to your foot with a strap or hands and fold over. Come up and switch sides. Don't overthink this too much. Just fold over the extended leg. Strap just giving you a little extra length as needed, wanted. Doing these static stretches cold, kind of right off the bat. Can be more intense, so you can always back off. Use the straps to help, that kind of thing. Okay, come back, extend the legs and give them a little bit of a shake. Without using your hands, so I usually do this kind of thing, clap the hands in front so that I won't be tempted to use them. I want you to pick up one leg, take it out to the side, pick it up, back to the center, and we do it a couple of times. Giving us some strength and wisdom about how the hip flexors, abdominals are working together. And then switch and do the second side. If, like me, you've got some props and things in the way on one side, you'll know you have to lift up a little higher to get around. Really great range of motion work, mobility. Okay, and then we'll just come around to all fours. Get into things we're used to. Cat and cow here. Let the spine move back and forth. Open up. And there's never a time in cat and cow that I think, oh, that was a bad choice. Keep going, take some more time with it. Give us a little bit of music here. And then from cat and cow, back to a neutral spine. We're adding two things together. Turn your fingers out to the side so that your thumbs face towards the front of the mat. Either hold that work there or turn the fingers 90 degrees more so that they face back towards your knees. Maybe rock a little bit forward and back. This tends to be a nice stretch and release through wrist and forearms. Counterbalance if you're spending a lot of time typing, shoulders forward at a desk, or just simply a lot of time on your hands in yoga. All right, now we're going to turn the hands around, fingers face back to the front, and add in the legs here. Right leg up and back in line with the spine. And do little tiny pulses and lifts. Simple enough, but gives warmth for the hamstrings, glutes that are doing the work for us today. A few more pulses. Okay, pull the right knee into the chest, around the back like cat pose. Lift, lift, lift. And then set it down. Lift the left leg up and back. And squeeze the glute. I've got my foot pointed. You could also flex and turn the toes down to the floor, whichever is best for you. And add in those little pulses. We are trying to keep the hips balanced, square to the ground, if you will, as much as possible here. Legs straight. That's what'll get you into the spot that we want. All right, and then knee to chest. And lower the leg down. Take the hands an extra few inches out in front of you. Tuck the toes, downward facing dog. Pedal the feet a little back and forth. In this pedal, reminding ourselves to keep open, fluid, plenty of movement. Don't restrict it. Step your right foot forward to low lunge. Come on up to high lunge, arms to the sky. All right, in the effort of thinking fluidity today, a little creativity, I want you to have a just tiny bit of constant movement in everything that you're doing, so that if somebody were to take a picture of you at any point in the practice, it might be slightly blurry because they're finding just a little bit of movement. Take this into a twist if you're not already there. Left hand across the right thigh, right hand back. And then both arms back up to the sky. Lower the hands down around the front foot. Step back to plank. Lower flat down to your yoga mat. Cobra. Peel your chest up. A little, a lot, it's up to you. Maybe a little sway with this as well. Change to downward facing dog. And then step the left foot forward to your lunge. Come up to high lunge. Maybe it's a little dynamic bounce. Add the twist in. Right hand lays across the left thigh. Look over the back shoulder. Both arms go back up to the sky. Fold over the front leg. Step back to plank. Down to the yoga mat. This time interlace the hands behind your back. Lift everything that you can up. Push it back to child's pose. And change again to downward facing dog. Take your right hand and reach towards your left leg. You can hold high onto your thigh. If you squeeze down towards the line of your ankle, do a little extra push and pull to add in a twist there in the torso. Place the right hand down. Pick up the left hand. Hold on to your right leg, again higher. Or more challenging, reach lower to the ankle, twist, and look underneath your right armpit. Two hands down. Come forward to plank. Down to the yoga mat. Take the hands behind your head, just like we did at the very beginning. Press your head into your hands. Lift everything that you can up. Lower it down, child's pose. Walk both hands over to the right side. Walk the hands across the center over to the left side. And back to the middle. Come up to all fours, swing your right foot forward to the outside of your hands for a lunge with the back knee down. And then we're changing this to down dog lunge. So tuck the back toes, lift the knee, keep hips low, but spin the left heel down, and then walk your hands out. A lot of times we take down dog lunge from a much higher position in the body to start with. I find this can get us a little more depth in the pose and come at it from an easier angle. Walk the hands back in. Lift the back heel, lower the knee, come around to all fours. So then the hands walk a little more towards the right, so the left foot has a place to swing forward. Tuck the back toes, lift, back heel down, and walk the hands out. Somebody's at the door? Okay. Well, it might be a kid. Hang on, guys. Bring the back knee back down, come around to all fours, and do downward facing dog. My kiddos are a little worried that somebody's at the front door. If you guys can take yourselves through 1 or 2 rounds of sun salutations, just kind of make it up, go on your own. I'm just going to check out the door, and I'll be right back. It's the pest control. Hi.
Hey, how you doing? This
Good.
is on the phone. It said I'm spraying for mosquitoes again, or is I'm spraying inside?
I not inside. I don't know
Not inside?
anything. Yeah.
Yeah, this your husband right here on the phone.
Okay. I'm in the middle of teaching, so hang out with him, see what he says,
Okay.
but not inside. We don't need anything inside.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Okay.
Okay. That's okay. Okay, I'm back. How'd that go? Come up to the front of the mat. Wherever you might be in the practice, come back to the front of the mat. Stand tall and lift the arms up to the sky. Hold on to your left wrist and reach over to the right side. Come back to the center. Hold on to your right wrist and reach to the left side. Come back to the center. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Step back to plank. Lower down to the mat. Peel the chest up for cobra. And go back to downward facing dog. Look forward to the hands now and step or jump to the front of the mat. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, forward fold. Stand up, reach the arms to the sky. Right into chair pose. Bend the knees, sit into the thighs. Utkatasana, chair pose. Take palms together and then take your left elbow to the outside of the right thigh. Fold your belly way down there, squish it all in. Press the left elbow against the outer thigh to bring the hands more towards the center and point the right elbow up to the sky. Keep sitting low in your hips. Untwist and move to the second side. Stay low in the legs. Right elbow to the outside of the left thigh. Again, press top hand to the bottom hand. Come out of it, stand all the way up, reach the arms to the sky. And exhale, forward fold. Step it all the way back to downward facing dog. And lift your right leg up into the air. Step it all the way forward into your low lunge. Come up to high lunge, we've been here. But then lower your back knee down to the ground. Let the hips move a little more down and forward. And do a few tiny little pulses there. A little up and back, a little down and forward. Keep the feeling of the low belly lifting, lifting, lifting towards the navel. And then lower both hands down around the front foot. Pick up the back knee and take a slightly shorter stance. Drag the back foot in a little bit. Here's that first look at pyramid pose. Both feet as flat as they'll go. Legs as straight as they'll go. Keep the torso over. And just kind of take it in here for a couple of breaths. How that opening pyramid pose goes for us. And then hands to your hips. Keep the legs as is and bring the torso upright. Lift, lift, lift. Take a little bend in the knees and step all the way forward. Lift the arms up to the sky. Exhale, forward fold. And step it back to downward facing dog. Lift your left leg into the air, three-legged dog. And step it forward. Come up to high lunge, arms to the sky. Slowly lower the right knee down to the ground. Let the hips move a bit down and forward. And do that same little bit of pulsing. Good, stay down and forward for a moment. Let the hands rest on either side of the front foot. And then we change, lift the back knee up away from the mat. Hop the right foot in about 6 inches. Spin the back heel down. And make both legs as straight as they'll go here. Feet flat. You can stay on the fingertips. Just fold the torso over like we did on the first side to the best we can right now. Now bring hands to the waist. Push down and out through your feet to come upright in the torso. And step the back foot to the front. Again, inhale, lift the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Step back to downward facing dog. So again, you're going to downward facing dog. Right leg up into the air, three-legged dog. And step it all the way through to your low lunge. Spin the back heel down and come up to warrior two now. Arms open in either direction. Whole body really open to the long edge of your mat, but gaze out over the front fingertips. A little flow here, so straighten the right leg and go to triangle pose. Right hand down, left hand up. The bottom hand can slide to your leg, a block, or the floor. We're going to go in between two poses, so it's fine to find your leg. Okay. Next breath, come back upright, rebend the right knee for warrior two. We're going to do this a couple of times, and I really just want you to find your own pace. Go to triangle pose. Hold it for maybe a breath and a half, and then go back to warrior two. So asking you to use the fluidity that's coming to you, your own personal creativity, to put these two poses together. Go back and forth between them, maybe 2, maybe 3 times. And then do find warrior two and stay there again. And we change again. Elbow to the knee, top arm palm down overhead, and side angle pose. Drop your left hand behind your back. Hook towards your right hip or even around the front of the right hip, more towards the thigh. And then reach the left arm back overhead. Look down at your right foot. Circle the hands on either side of the foot. And step back to plank. Plank pose here. Lower flat down to the mat. Cobra, peel the chest up. And go to downward facing dog. In down dog, lift the left leg up, three-legged dog. Step it all the way through. Warrior two, spin the back foot down, heel down. Open up the body to the side again as you stretch the arms in either direction and gaze out over the front fingertips. And we're playing between warrior two and triangle pose. Let's do triangle pose, see how it feels. This side, left hand down to the shin, a block or the ground, top arm to the sky. Taking those two separate things and putting them together so you come back up to warrior two. And then again, you're finding your way. Take, not super fast here. A breath, maybe even 2 breaths. And then transition back and forth. Do it 2 or 3 times. What muscles do you need to strengthen? What do you need to stabilize to help you find a little more flexibility in the poses? Stay in warrior two next time you're there. And then add in elbow to knee, top arm palm down overhead, extended side angle. Continue like that, or drop the right hand behind your back. And I'm even inching the hand to try to find the left thigh, just the very top little crease of thigh and hip coming together. Ask for more in the shoulders, more rotation. Does it work? Okay, top arm goes back. And then cartwheel down around the front foot. Plank pose, slide it back. Go down to the mat, cobra. And this time child's pose, sit back. Twisted child's pose. Thread the right arm under the left arm here so that right shoulder, ear, side of the face down to the mat. Your butt can be higher or lower. You choose. Unthread the right arm. Take the left arm under the right side. And unthread the left arm. Sit back on your heels, so lift the torso. Interlace the hands, flip the palms, lift up. Release, come to a standing forward fold at the back end of the mat. So I'm going to change to the toes. Keep hands down, make the legs straight as you fold the torso over. Bend the right knee, keep the left leg straight. Really push down through that left leg. Okay, keeping this, so left leg pretty straight, right knee bent, both hands to the waist. Try coming upright in the torso. Lift the arms to the sky. Wrap the right arm under the left for eagle arms, palms come together. Now, bend the left knee the whole time that right foot has been light. Wrap it over, wrap the right leg over the left thigh. Eagle pose, Gardasana. Standing split. Is that crazy to think about? Take the hands to your hips. Here's how we're gonna do it. We're gonna unwrap the right leg, kick the heel towards our bum until fingertips can reach down to the ground. A lot of bend in your left leg, your standing leg. Concentrate on extending your right toes straight up to the sky. I've got a ton of bend in both knees here to make that work. And then kind of give something up. Give both things up to get the legs a little bit straighter. Keep sending the head down over the leg. Maybe open up the line of the hips some to have some freedom and fluidity there. Some creative expression. Maybe you're lifting and lowering, constantly finding some movement, not feeling stuck in a pose today. Play with it for one more breath. And then bring both feet back down to the mat. Standing forward fold. Both legs as straight as they'll go, keeping all 10 fingertips to the ground. We'll do this on the second side, so that means right leg stays straight, bend the left knee. Bring the hands to the waist and torso straight up. Stand up. Lift the arms to the sky. Wrap the left arm under the right, eagle arms. This is where you get to bend the standing leg and wrap the left thigh on top of the right leg. Squeeze everything into the midline. Standing split, hands to the hips. Unwrap the left leg, kick your heel to the butt as you tilt forward. Almost like you're gonna go into warrior 3, but we're gonna take our hands all the way down. Again, a lot of bend in both knees. Try to point the left knee up towards the ceiling. And then be open with yourself enough to just try. Straighten and bend the legs. Go with the breath here towards the standing split. If we're being rigid, we would say, oh, hips need to square off the entire time. But we're not. There's no rigidity in the practice. It's all about the flow this month. What makes you flow and vibe, body and mind, to make each day work for you. Give it one more breath in the standing split work. And then lower back, 2 feet to the mat. This is where I always find the benefit. We've gone both sides. Feel the heaviness through the legs. And try to lift your butt higher to the sky. Not standing forward fold. Bring the hands to the waist. Little bend in the knees to help you come up to standing. Shake it out. Okay, this is where block is going to come in handy. Sometimes blocks, props make poses more accessible. Sometimes they make them a little bit more challenging. We're going to do both of those ends here. Place your block at the back end of your mat, the length of your foot, so that most of your foot can be on the yoga block. Yeah? And stand on it, right foot on the block. Bend your knees and then just hop the left foot forward as if you're going to pyramid pose. And we've just given ourselves some height on the back leg. Hands, find the hip points and face them towards the front of the mat. And now your flow is in the torso. Take head to about parallel with the floor, and then back vertical. Horizontal and vertical. Do it one more time. Torso more parallel to the floor. You stay there. Those hip points, make sure your left hip point is trying to pull up into the air and the right leg around and down. And then come all the way back up. Bend both knees, step off of your block, and switch it over to the other foot. So then the block needs to go more towards the left side. Stand left foot on the block. And you're doing that little hop forward. I've got my heel up on the block to begin with until I know I've got the stride. And then straighten the leg as much as you can. Press heel down to the floor, turn the toes in. Be as upright as possible. Square off the hips. And in terms of that, is this the harder thing with the block or is it the easier thing? That's something for you to figure out on your own. Go forward and over, hold it for about a breath, and then come upright. I laugh because this will be the modified easier thing for some, and it'll be the harder thing for some. It's just going to depend on where we might have a little less range of motion or flexibility. You're coming forward and staying. I will tell y'all this was easier on my first side. And now I'm like, oh, maybe this is the hard way to do it. Just depends on the side of the body, less than the actual action of the block. Okay, we're gonna come back up. Bend both knees, step forward so that you're off the block. It is enhancing the hamstring stretch whichever way we see it. And then get your block, and now you're gonna stand on it on the front leg. So you're gonna move the block towards the front right side of your mat. Again, the right foot's gonna step onto the block. Find a little balance and control. You can already play with where the hips are going, where the pelvis is moving you. Stay as centered as you can. And then step back into your lunge. Maybe arms straight up into the air here. Okay, now can you take the hands down to the floor? That's kind of hard. You could also keep the hands up on the hips. If you happen to have like a chair, another block to keep the hands underneath, you could do that as well. Okay, and now we hop it in enough to get that back leg straight, flat down, good length through the calf muscle, and straighten out the right leg as much as you can. So I have a lot of length and range of motion in my right hamstring and right hip. So this is a nice enhancement for me. If you're more limited, right knee is going to be more bent here, but we're still trying to get into the stretch, the meat of the muscle, center back of the hamstring. Hands up or down. And then to safely come out of this, probably bend both knees, but find your own safe way to come up. And get off of the block, shake out the legs. Goes over to the other side. Last little bit here. Left foot on the block. Try to find your balance. Keep hips square. And step it back to your high lunge. Take Take your time. Lower the hands down either side. Whew. Maybe both to the inside. That's a good way to work. We just kind of figure out how this adjustment can work. Back foot slides in a little bit. Send the heel down. So what I'm hoping for here in using the block under the front foot is to actually give folks more access to getting that back heel down, whereas that's often our stop point. And then make the front leg as straight as it'll go on that extra height of the block. Stay with your stretch, stay with your breath. Bend both knees, hop it in until you can safely come off the block, get it out of your way. Stretch the downward facing dog. I'm hoping this feels a little bit more open and easy. Take in your breath. Okay, and we got one more pyramid pose. Step the right foot forward. Slide the back foot in. This time, hands to the waist and come all the way up. Take your hands behind your back. Either fold the palms on top of each other or hold onto your elbows, which that side angle pose might have prepped you for. If you know reverse mudra, prayer hands behind your back and like that option, go for it. And then we've got to fold our torso back down. Try to get towards parallel to the ground. We've practiced that. Maybe a little bit further. Push through your front big toe and your back outer heel. The feet as flat to the mat as they were underneath the block and mat in the pose before. And then think no wobble, no bobble. So build the kneecaps up, tone in the quads, and come all the way upright. Bend both knees, step forward. Keep the hands as is. Arms are set first on the second side. Left foot is forward. Step your right foot back. I like to line up heel to heel in pyramid pose or even a little bit wider so that all of that open fluid space we've found in the hips through this practice can help us. And with feet flat, fold over. Think head at first in line, torso in line with the earth, and then maybe even folding a little closer in and down to it. Again, press through your front big toe, back outer heel. And this time, while you're over, can you unthread those arms? Bend both knees and step backwards to downward facing dog. Pedal it out. Right knee to the right elbow for pigeon. Heel towards the left hip. Walk the back leg out and come down to the forearms. If you want some height, place the forearms underneath the block. Give way to a little extra softness here. Maybe give a little sway back and forth. You can be louder with your breath. You're at home. Whatever feels nice. And let your whole self fall a little bit towards your right side. So kind of falling over, right hip gets the weight. Pull the back knee in close to your front foot. This changes to like an S sit. And the legs, lift your torso, put weight on the right hand. Lift your hips up and stretch the left arm. It's a version of mermaid pose here. Lower the hips back down. Okay, there's one more thing still on this side. You're gonna lie down onto your back. Right leg goes over the left, thread the needle. Arms go in between to hold behind the left leg. And if this can rock you back up to a seated position, and then the legs come all the way back to downward facing dog. Pedal it out. Again, try to be fluid, creative, however these poses link one to the next for you. Left knee towards the left wrist. Walk the back leg until more of the front of the thighs on the ground. Come down to the forearms. Again, you can always prop yourself a little higher under the arms. Nothing about this pose says that the hips need to be on the ground here when we're working. They might be, but they don't have to be. Okay, and then you're gonna fall towards that front left leg. Fold the right knee closer into the left foot. Put your weight on the left hand as the torso lifts up, lift the hips, lift the right arm. So the hips come back down. Lie down onto your back with the left ankle crossed over the right leg. Pull the right leg in. Rock yourself up to a seated position. This time, stretch both legs out in front of you, arms to the sky. Exhale, forward fold. You can use the strap like you did in the beginning, or go without it. Seated forward fold, Paschimottanasana. Again, maybe those tiny little pulses, a little bit out, a little bit into the pose. Giving ourselves the freedom of extra fluidity today. And then change to Baddha Konasana, your butterfly pose. I'm going to lean back, take the weight off of the legs so I can go soles of the feet together, knees out to the side. Transition to your butterfly pose. Let the wings flap a little bit. Let the torso roll around. And you're none of those things. Stay forward and over the legs for a moment. All right, as we come upright, stretch the legs straight out in front of you. like we did in the beginning, so knowing that have enough room to either side of you. Prayer hands, take one leg out. But now can you take the other leg out? Ooh, that didn't get me very far. I don't know about you guys. Try again. Straddle position. Come forward down to the forearms like pigeon pose before. This might be on a prop, on your hands. Sometimes as I get more comfortable, I use the block underneath the forehead. I often spend some evening time in this straddle position. Roll the temples side to side, forehead, to soothe out any stress, tension, anxiety that I don't need to take into the rest of the day or evening. Friends, if this is a soothing pose to you, feel free to stay a little bit longer. But eventually make your way, legs in, to lie down onto your back. Once on your back, spread the arms to a T and come to a supine twist. Let both legs hang over towards the right side. And then both legs over to the second side. Okay, bring it back to the middle. This is the opportunity for that unwinding movement. Add in any last little bits that you'd like. Be it a pose, just a little wiggle. And from that, your final pose of the class. You can lie back in Shavasana, take a seat of meditation. If you found the fluid movement helpful to your release, then it might also be helpful here. You can create a little rhythmic movement. You don't have to be all the way still. Give yourself 6 to 8 more breaths here. And then transition to a seated posture. We'll close our time together in the sound of Om, allowing the presence, the peace, the fluid creativity of this practice to meld into the next moments of our life. Sing along, listen, tune it out, empty out the breath here. Deep breath in. And deep honor to yourself, gratitude to each other, gratitude to this practice. Namaste.